Brr. That isn't the case for me, as I am actually completely out of focus here in the camera. I was trying to do something fun. Give me 1 second, everybody. First chiming in live or on replay. Thank you guys so much for being here. I was acting like this because I know, at least in Colorado, it's snowing as we speak, and that's why the Mets don't have a game tonight this Friday. But they do start this series with a doubleheader tomorrow. So how's it going, everybody? Thank you all so much for chiming in for the latest series preview show here on WardyNYM. I myself, Wardy, I'll be breaking down everything that you guys need to possibly know about this matchup, the latest series for the Mets after taking 3 of 4 from the Cardinals. They now begin tomorrow a 6-game road trip, starting with that doubleheader at 3:10 p.m. Eastern time, and then there will be a couple-hour break because then Game 2 will be around 8:40 p.m. Eastern time, so not traditional from the doubleheaders that we've been seeing of recent, where normally there's a half-hour break in between the two games. No, there will be a couple-hour break in between the two, which at least will help the players rest up a bit, but it's going to be chilly. It was just 88 degrees in Colorado yesterday. Now it's like high of 40 or something, snowing, a blizzard all day. It's going to be snowing nasty tomorrow too, which really makes you think that the doubleheader would have been best for Sunday, but I understand why they're not trying to do that, because that is the final day of the series, and then the Mets go to the Giants the next day in San Francisco, and they don't have a break in between. There's no off day there. Just 5 straight days where you're playing 6 games. But we got a lot to break down. Again, I'll be sharing all my thoughts on what you guys need to know about this Rockies series, what players for the Mets that I think are going to stand out and truly ball out in this 3-game matchup, what players and overall, what are the biggest factors for the Rockies that can help propel them to victory that the Mets should be keeping an eye on, and so much more. So again, appreciate all you guys. I'm going to do a quick roll call here in the live stream quick to see how everyone's doing in the chat. And again, as always, guys, help us get to 100 likes for the first short-term goal by smashing that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 16K subs for the next short-term goal here on the largest Mets platform, not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY. Fantastic content's coming your way every week here on the channel, folks, even with me being away and doing things. And I will let you guys all know, I will not be live tomorrow for a post-game show after the doubleheader. Normally for doubleheaders, I don't go live until after both games conclude. There will be no prolonged live show tomorrow. There may be a short clip after, but I'll be out of town all day tomorrow, so I won't be able to focus on the games nearly as much as I'd like to. So that is one of those rare occurrences. You will not see it often. But tomorrow, again, no post-game show as an actual live stream. If anything, it's more than likely going to just be a short clip of me recapping what happened in both those games. So there is a possibility I'll have a video tomorrow, but nothing's guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is breaking down this series preview. So I see Chris, how's it going? Mets, Nick, Tom, Sean, Andrew, Cy, Matthew, great member on the channel, Buzz, Daniel, Tim, Matthew, another great friend on the channel, Guardian of Chaos, Joey, Dom, great friend and member on the channel, Sean, Leroy, how's it going, my man? Elliot, Mets Nation, great friend on the channel. All you guys, appreciate it all. Like I said, I'll be getting your comments, questions, and concerns very soon. But let's talk about the latest matchup for the Mets, okay? It's the first time this year they're playing the Colorado Rockies, and normally I'd say, okay, here we go. The Mets are finally playing a bottom feeder, but the Rockies are only 1 game below 500. They have had a really strong and impressive start to the year, with a lot of these games without their big offseason signing, the man that many Mets fans, including myself, originally wanted, that being Chris Bryant. I'm not sure when KB will return to the lineup, but I know he has been out for injury for a little bit now. But no less, the Rockies are 18-19 on the season. They lost their last 2 series. Their most recent one, they lost, I believe, they lost 2-3 games to the San Francisco Giants. Coincidentally enough, considering the Mets play the Giants after this matchup. But yeah, I mean, just talk about the Rockies. They've exceeded expectations early on this year. And I understand we're in May. Things are destined to change. And I 100% expect the Rockies to become more of a bottom feeder that they're expected. But they're playing competitive ball. And they definitely have some guys that have been standing out on the offensive front. Some of their pitchers have been standing out. Maybe not the main one that you initially would expect it to be. That being in their ace, Herman Marquez, who's off to a rough start this year. That'll be breaking down in a second. But no less, give credit where credit's due. The Rockies have shown that they're not an easy win by any stretch to go up against. And the Mets, their tallest task, when it comes to bottom feeder teams this year, the Washington Nationals were the easiest team, then the D-backs after, but the D-backs haven't even been playing terrible ball either. Now that's the case with a fellow team here in the NL West, this time being, of course, in the Colorado Rockies. But for the Mets, let's look at the pitching matchup, shall we? This is a key pitching matchup. And even though that pitching I don't think will mean too much in this series, we're in the Mile High City, we're in Denver, we're in Coors Field. And that means that the ball is going to be flying out like no tomorrow. It might not be juice balls. It might be dead end balls everywhere in baseball, but I assure you it's going to feel like a juice ball when they're starting to hit in cores. Even with the temperatures being down, the ball just flies different there. And weather may have a factor. I definitely will say that's not impossible, but no less with the thin air that you have there in the high altitude, it just flies at a ridiculous rate that is unprecedented from the remaining ballparks all across the Major League of Baseball. But game one of this series, folks, starts tomorrow, 3:10 p.m. Eastern time, and it starts with Cookie Carrasco on the bump for the Amazons. Cookie's coming off of a not great outing, but not terrible either. Gave up 4 runs of 4.1 innings pitched, but again, wasn't terrible. Cookie on the year is 3-1 in his win-loss record with 3.73 ERA. He's looking to help start things up on the right foot for the Mets to give them a game one and hopefully start the series on the right foot in the sense of winning that series opener. Matching up against, again, the ace for the Rockies, Herman Marquez. A lot of Mets fans, including myself, have really liked Marquez over the past year or two. I would say he was in a lot of trade rumors and definitely would have been appealing at times, but Marquez off to a rough start this year. Shouldn't put too much stock into it. We're only through how many starts for his sake? Probably, I don't know, maybe 10. Not even Marquez so far this year. A 1-3 1-loss record with a 6.16 ERA. Again, not what you want to see from Marquez, but I expect him to come back down and get back more so in his career norms of being a solid starting pitcher. One of the better ones in baseball when he is on and rolling, even in Coors Field. He's just that good. But so far, he's had an anomaly of a season here in 2022. But game two, and this is the second game that will be in the doubleheader. And David, I am live right now. That is correct. Yes, appreciate everyone chiming in, folks. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on. I appreciate it. But game two, that will be at 8:40 p.m. Eastern time. That'll be Trevor Williams. Yes, no David Pearson this series. The Mets, they had scratched Pearson, who was scheduled to start in AAA yesterday. But no, it doesn't look like he'll be starting. Maybe he'll come out of the pen for one of Williams or Carrasco, depending on how deep they go in this series. That could definitely make sense. But Williams will be on the bump. Trevor had his best outing for the New York Mets this season. The last time he was out, helping the Mets win their first game, no less, of a doubleheader in that 4-game set against the Cardinals a couple days ago. Williams in that game pitched 4 scoreless against the Cardinals and was doing really well with his arsenal. I was very impressed with Williams. But on the season, he's 0-2 with his win-loss record. And how fitting is this ERA in the Mile High City? Yes, he has a 4.20 ERA. So take that as you will. So it feels like it was inevitable that he was going to be pitching the series, right? But he's facing off against Gomber. Gomber is the lone southpaw of a starter the Mets will face in this 3-game matchup, which will always be a tall task for a Mets team that hasn't proven to be consistently good against lefties yet. Now, they definitely did make a statement in their series finale loss 8-7 the Mariners a couple days ago because they did score 5 earned runs off of Robbie Ray, the reigning Cy Young Award winner originally with the Toronto Blue Jays in 2021. But overall, lefties have been an issue for the Mets, so let's see if that'll continue to be the trend against Gomber at a hitters-friendly park as an understatement, that being in Coors. Gomber on the year, though, he has a 2-3 1-loss record with a 4.38 ERA. So not terrible numbers, but definitely something that I'm sure that the Mets can take advantage of should they actually learn and continue to swing against lefties competently the way that they have against righties all year long and all throughout the 2021 season in parts. But then game 3, the series finale, this matchup, folks, it's a fun one. It's Taijuan Walker, who had not a great outing, but not a terrible outing either the last time he was on the bump. Matching up against, that'll be Cool for the Rockies. Cool is 3-2 on the year, but a respectable 3.86 ERA. So if you look at Taijuan Walker, Ty has 1 win to 0 losses and a 3.52 ERA. Again, not that ERA means much. You have to look at the advanced numbers, and I really think that's important, especially when you're only a handful of starts into the 2022 season. But I'm still labeling these numbers out there because I know that you guys like them, regardless on the degree of you liking them. Maybe one of you guys absolutely loves ERA, dies with it, thinks it's everything. The next guy might think that means nothing. That's perfectly fine. But that's what you guys need to know about this pitching matchup. Again, not known for stellar pitching. You're not going to see anything crazy in this one. Maybe you will because the weather might have an inclination of, okay, maybe we're going to have a lack of offense. But if I had to be a betting man, I would say that we can expect a decent amount of offense in this Rockies series. And not just because of the fact that we're in Coors, but because of how the Mets players handle Coors throughout their career. Because as we transition now into key Mets to look at this series, guys, there are many, and I could have listed every Met. But honestly, and I know that I've been repeating myself with some guys every couple days when we do series previews, but how can you not? Pete Alonso, who currently on the year is one of the best home run hitters. He's been the best home run hitter since he landed in the MLB a couple years ago in 2019 when he had his amazing rookie year. But Alonzo Reyes, 10 bombs on the season, just came off of a walk-off victory against the Cardinals last night, where he himself had a walk-off 2-run piss missile over 440 feet, at least second deck. Maybe it was third deck. I don't remember correctly, but he just absolutely pimped that thing. Had a nice 3 of a cell. He did a little Kobe there to get to home plate. But Pete, 36 RBIs on the year for the Mets slugger. He has more RBIs than any other player in baseball at the time of being live here this Friday, May 20th. And Alonzo in Coors Field, yeah, good things are going to happen. Look at these numbers: 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, a 455 average. Yes, let's get this clear. 455 average, 1,409 OPS at Coors in his career, and that was accumulated over a total of 6 games and 24 plate appearances. So yeah, 24 plate appearances. Pete's basically batting 500 in Coors, and I don't expect that to stop anytime soon, and you shouldn't either, with the way that he's been not just this season, but throughout his career. And in a hitters-friendly park, this man single-handedly won his second home run derby, that being last year in Coors. So you know he's going to have good vibes, bopping, feeling good regardless of the weather. I love his chances. Now for the next guy that I'm looking at in this series, guys, you probably will agree with me, and that is the man who's back from the bereavement list after the unfortunate passing of his grandmother a couple days ago. Starling Marte is back in the Mets lineup, and that isn't just important to have that electric outfielder who's so great on the speed on the bags, but Marte also has absolutely dominated the Rockies his entire career. And looking at Coors in particular, and guys, this is only in 24 games and 115 plate appearances. Starling Marte in those 24 games at Coors has 10 stolen bags, 4 home runs, and 20 RBIs. He's almost an RBI per game pace when playing in Coors in his career. A 429 batting average, he won over 1,000 OPS. So, I mean, I don't know how many more examples you need of how much Coors can make offensive numbers be inflated for especially opposing clubs that are visiting every now and then. That's the case for both Alonzo and Marte, who have had a decent to strong experience there in Coors, especially for Marte. Marte's had 115 plate appearances in Coors, so he knows that park really well. And guys, my Wi-Fi might be dropping a little bit right now. If it does, I do apologize. Like I said, my Wi-Fi's been funky ever since I got back from my brother's wedding last weekend. I think it was because I messed up something with my router. So if the quality isn't great for a minute or two, I do apologize. But again, Alonzo, Marte, got to keep an eye on them. And guys, I know he has been playing absolutely abysmal more often than not, really this entire month. And as of late, over the past couple of days, both not just offensively, but defensively too. But Eduardo Escobar, this has to be his time to break out. Why exactly? Not just because it's Coors, but how Escobar has performed in Coors in his career. Eduardo Escobar for the New York Mets in 25 games and 117 plate appearances at Coors Field in his career has 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, quite literally an RBI per game pace exactly in those 25 games, a 294 average and a just sub 900 OPS. I mean, if Eduardo's going to break out anytime soon, if at all this month, no better way to do it in the most hitter-friendly park and a park that he's dominated throughout his career. Plenty of times he's had experience against Rockies during his long time in Arizona, where he, of course, was with a rival, that being in the NL West. So he knows the Rockies. He knows Coors well. Again, a guy that's been slumping criminally, not just offensively, but defensively, with 4 errors over this past series against the Cardinals, or at least did it start in the Mariners series? It might have. No less, I love the chances for all these guys. And one more guy that I will make note of, at least, is not just, of course, Lindor, McNeil, all guys that you can expect to hit, but really Brandon Nemo. And the reason why I say Nemo is I didn't mention Nemo in my last series preview, and for good reason. Nemo had a solid series, but he struggled, especially through that doubleheader. And Nemo doesn't have good numbers in his career at all against the Cardinals, but against the Rockies at Coors Field, yeah, more of the same. A lot of success there. Nemo in 11 career games at Coors Field and 48 plate appearances has a total of 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. Again, another guy with basically RBI per game pace during his time at Coors Field, a 364 average and a 1,041 OPS. So needless to say, offense is something that the only way I don't see it happening is not because of pitchers' duels, and I'm going to go on a limb and say that, but rather the weather. I think the weather would be the only thing to truly impact the balls not flying out. I still expect them to, though, and hopefully you guys will as well. But let's get into now the Rockies. All right, we talked about the Mets. We talked about the offensive guys that stand out. Alonzo, Marte, and Escobar. Those are my key 3 to watch Not to denounce anyone else having great success this series, but if we're going based on career numbers, and again, things that probably are not going to change drastically out of nowhere, I like those chances for those three. But then getting into the Rockies, who stands out? The biggest guy that stands out is the man who's not even an actual person. It's the ballpark itself. Again, Coors Field. I cannot emphasize enough, guys, why Coors Field is not why, but how Coors Field is just a completely different element, a completely different demon for opposing clubs than any other park in baseball. It doesn't even matter in a lot of ways if you have great aces on the mound when you're in Coors. The ball just flies out. It's different. It's basically a perfect way of viewing Coors Field versus any other park is view Coors Field as never switching the baseballs, as if they've always had the juice baseballs and they never went away after the short 2020 season. They always stayed. That's basically in a nutshell what it's like to play at Coors more often than not. And that is, again, why we're going to be very interested to see how much offense or lack thereof we have this series. Because without the weather, that ball, it's going to be flying. I just fully expect it to. And this is something that can hopefully help the Mets maybe get more on the swing of things home run-wise. That'll maybe trend into the Giants series. And, of course, June when they have their massive matchups against the Dodgers, Angels, and that being in the Padres. All in the first week of June for a 2-week span. It's not going to be easy. But if this can maybe be a spark on the right foot, the Mets are already 12 games above 500. So hopefully this offense can maybe take things to another level. And that's me selfishly saying this rather, after the Mets scored 18 runs over the past 2 games. So offense hasn't been concerned as of late from that Cardinals series, but I definitely would like to see them take advantage of being in the most hitter-friendly park in baseball, and hopefully we will see just that. But getting on now to players, there's a couple that stand out to me. There's definitely some quality, very low-key guys that don't get nearly enough credit for what they do in Colorado. But the guy that's leading the way is basically a Pete Alonso in his own, that being for the Rockies, and CJ Crone. CJ Crone, who's known for being a slugger, power-hitting first baseman, lefty bat, I believe, or maybe he's righty. I could be wrong. Either way, though, CJ Crone, off to a phenomenal start this year for the Rockies, has been a huge part to their success, only being 1 game below 500. As Crone on the season right now, guys, in only 37 games, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs, a 319 average, and just shy of 1,000 OPS. 970 to be exact. He's tied with Alonzo in home runs. He's only 6 behind Alonzo in RBIs for the league lead. So CJ Crone, keep an eye on him. Big power bat that will be, of course, potentially available come the trade deadline for a team looking for a power-hitting DH/first baseman. And it wouldn't be actually all that surprising if the Mets found themselves in that category by the deadline, as they are basically one power bat away of truly solidifying this offense, as most could probably agree. But not just CJ Crone, Ryan McMahon stands out to me too. Just signed to a long-term extension this past offseason with the Rockies. The infielder, second baseman, can do a lot of things for you for the Rockies' sake. And he's off to a really strong start this year. In 36 games played for the young infielder, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, a 275 average, an 805 OPS. And McMahon is someone who stood out to me. And another guy who is just very similar in numbers this year in OPS, but just missed the cut for me, is Connor Joe. Connor Joe, a very surprising, really nice player for the Rockies that's balled out over the past year for them. Really like the chances of him doing well in this series. And again, Rockies, they might not have the best offense in the world, but they're in a hitters-friendly park, or they're facing a Mets team that is without Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, and Tyler McGill. Naturally, we can expect them to take advantage of maybe a little bit of lack of pitching. To what extent, we'll soon find out. But then not just from them offensively for the Rockies. Let's take a look at both these teams now for a second and their overall team offense. Because the Mets now, through Fangraphs, enter this series tomorrow with the 3rd best overall offense in baseball to the Rockies. The Rockies team, again, who has Coors Field as your home park. They are an anemic, truly an abysmal 23rd in baseball right now in offense. You know that's not going to last long, and I don't expect it to. I'm sure their home splits are far better than their road splits, even though I'd have to double check, so I don't want to just say something without necessarily knowing. But if I'm going to go on a limb, I'd say that might be the case, because the Rockies start off strong at home, but I know their road record wasn't well. I'll have to double check on it. But 23rd overall offense for the Rockies, 3rd overall for the Mets. And pitching-wise, among starting pitchers in all of baseball per team, the Mets are currently ranked 2nd in all of baseball still among their starting staff, based on all the numbers combined through Fangraphs. And the Rockies have the 18th best staff in all of baseball among starters. So definitely a clear difference there. Same thing with the offense and now the pitching. Bullpen is where this team is probably closest, as the Mets have the 15th ranked bullpen in baseball according to Fangraphs, while the Rockies are ranked 23rd. So the Rockies aren't high in anything here. This is a team that you absolutely should take full advantage of. No excuses. At minimum, you need to win 2 or 3 this series. Thankfully, again, the Mets have been phenomenal in doubleheaders this year. Now, granted, having chilly weather is something that not a lot of fans and overall players are going to be happy with. So that definitely can play a big factor into either the success or lack thereof for either of these clubs starting tomorrow in the doubleheader. But no less, this is a big matchup for the Mets because while it might not seem like a huge opponent on paper, the Rockies are 18-19. They're a pesky club early on this year. And this is a Mets team that, again, does have some holes. And they've been getting beat up on good. And they have a really tough schedule. They have one of the hardest in baseball. It doesn't get any easier after the Rockies. So the least the Mets should do is take advantage of a good opportunity given to them against these Rockies. Try to leg out a series victory. A series sweep would be amazing, but at minimum, get a series victory. My gut told me, guys, a couple of days ago that the Mets would not win this series. I actually said the Mets would only win 1 of 3. I hope I'm wrong, and I don't believe the Mets will only win 1 of 3 this series. But at the time, that's how I felt. Because who knows? Anything can happen in Coors. It's just that anomaly of a ballpark that anything can say and go in that state for them. So we'll see. I'm pumped up, though. Going to be a great series. And guys, before I start answering all your comments, questions, and concerns, I just want to thank you all so much again for being in here. For people in the live stream, which is all of you, I'm going to start answering your comments now. But for people on replay, guys, I want you to let me know your thoughts and comments below. How do you feel about this Mets-Rockies 3-game set that starts with a doubleheader this weekend? How do you think the Mets are going to fare? How do you hope they fare? Do you hope that they win at least 2 or 3, or at least getting a series sweep? Whatever you might think or want to see happen, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And as always, folks, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Help us get to a couple hundred likes and, of course, 16K subs on the channel. Again, the live stream, I'm going to answer your comments now, but for people on replay, this is where I'll be cutting things off.